One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Carl Jung. Until you confront what lies beneath your surface, it will keep controlling you, and you'll keep calling it fate. That was Jung's warning, a truth that echoes like a ghostly voice through the centuries. It's not a poetic metaphor. It's not psychological fluff. It's a brutal reality. The shadow, the hidden part of you, the repressed self, the thoughts you don't want to think, the impulses you pretend aren't real, the truths you bury deep hoping they stay buried. But they never do. The shadow waits. It manipulates your thoughts from the darkness. It sabotages your relationships. It destroys your dreams in silence. You can't outrun it. You can't silence it. And those who try, they become its puppets, its victims, its mouthpieces. Look around and you'll see it. The man who loudly boasts of his virtue, yet privately wallows in the vices he condemns. The woman who preaches compassion while secretly feeding her resentment. The friend who blames the world, never once looking in the mirror. These aren't quirks of personality. These are symptoms of the shadow ruling from the background. Jung wasn't warning us about some abstract psychological model. He was describing a law of the psyche. The shadow is real. It's personal. It's a silent force, always watching, always waiting. And when it attacks, it does so with precision, at the worst possible time, at your weakest moment. Think about the ancient myths. Heroes undone by their hubris, monsters growing in the darkness. These stories aren't just allegories. They're coded warnings. They tell us one thing: what remains hidden doesn't disappear. It grows, it festers, and when it comes back like a hurricane. In today's world, the shadow is even more dangerous, because now it's hidden under filters, smiles, and performative perfection. Society rewards the mask. It applauds the image. It praises those who pretend to be light while suppressing their inner darkness. But the truth always finds a way out. Deny your shadow long enough and it will bleed into everything. It shows up as random bursts of anger, broken relationships, repeated failures. It whispers through self-sabotage. It poisons your friendships with jealousy. It burns your career down with quiet bitterness. To ignore your shadow is to let it rule you, and it will rule. Not like a king, but like a parasite. Quiet, manipulative, deadly. The unconscious doesn't care about your image. It doesn't negotiate with your illusions. If you don't face it willingly, it will force itself into your life. Through chaos, through crisis, through pain. And when it does, you won't even recognize the person you've become. So the real question isn't, do I have a shadow? You do. The question is, will you confront it before it destroys you? Most people won't. Most people spend their lives running from it. They live behind masks, convinced that their performance is who they are. But the longer you run, the more power you give the thing that's chasing you. The more you deny your shadow, the deeper it digs in. It doesn't sit quietly in the corner, it waits. It hunts. You can see it in the man who erupts in rage and swears, "I'm not like this," or in the woman who keeps destroying every relationship and has no idea why, or in the preacher who screams about sin, all while secretly indulging in the very things he condemns. These people are not in control. Their shadow is. But the true tragedy, they don't even realize there's a war happening inside them. They blame the world. They blame fate. They blame their childhoods, their exes, their jobs, everything but the one thing they need to face, themselves. They are prisoners of their own mind, holding the key but refusing to look at it. Jung saw it all too clearly. What remains unconscious doesn't just vanish. It rules. It takes over. It possesses. And it transforms you into a stranger to yourself. Now imagine a person who has repressed their shadow so completely. They believe they are pure. They walk around thinking they've conquered their flaws. But they haven't. They've just projected them onto everyone else. They become obsessed with the evil in the world. They crusade against sins they secretly long for. And in their war against darkness, they become the very monster they were fighting. This is the shadow's favorite trick, to convince you it doesn't exist. But the shadow is part of you, just as much as your kindness, just as much as your intelligence or your compassion. It's not about getting rid of it. It's about owning it, integrating it, understanding it. To integrate your shadow is not to become evil. It's to become whole. It's to understand your anger instead of pretending you're always calm. It's to own your desires rather than letting them sneak up on you. It's to stop pretending and start becoming. But make no mistake, it's terrifying. To meet your shadow is to meet the real you, not the version you've crafted for the world, but the one you've buried. It's a mirror, and what it reflects can break you, unless you're ready. That mirror will show your hypocrisy, your rage, your neediness, your hidden lust, your quiet shame. And most will run. They'll run back into the arms of comfort, illusion, and lies. But a few, just a few, will stay. And those who do will find something unexpected: power. The paradox of the psyche is this: your liberation lies in the thing you fear most. Your shadow is not just a container of your darkness, it is the reservoir of your brilliance, your wildness, your passion, your creativity, your drive. If you can face it, it becomes your ally. If you can wield it, it becomes your fire. But this path is rare. Most people don't want fire. They want comfort. They want permission to stay asleep. And society is happy to give it to them. From childhood, we are taught to be nice, polite, obedient. We are taught to suppress, to smile when we feel rage, to behave when we want to scream. And so the shadow grows. Quietly, deeply, and it finds ways to express itself, through sarcasm, through passive aggression, through toxic kindness, through unexplainable anxiety, through addiction, through dreams that leave us disturbed. To ignore your shadow is to divide your soul in half. It creates inner conflict. The conscious mind says one thing, but the unconscious says another. That tension turns into suffering, and most people don't know why they're suffering. So they numb it, with alcohol, with Netflix, with overwork, with false relationships, but the suffering never leaves, because the shadow never leaves. And the truth? The shadow is not your enemy. It is your abandoned self. It is your unlived life. The artist you silenced, the warrior you denied, the lover you buried, the fire you extinguished to be safe. Yes, it's dangerous, but only to your illusions. Only to the false self you've built to survive. And when you begin to integrate it, everything changes. Fear becomes power. Shame becomes purpose. Weakness becomes strength. But it's not a theory. You can't read your way into this. You have to descend. You have to go into the depths. You have to sit with the discomfort, feel the chaos, let it show you what you've refused to see. Then, and only then, can you rise. Because repression is not resolution. What you bury does not die. It waits. And when it returns, it will not ask for permission. Even the most disciplined man, who believes he has crushed all his impulses, has not. He has merely locked them away. But the shadow is patient. It waits for his moment of weakness. And when that moment comes, it floods the gates. And the man is shocked. That wasn't me, he says. But it was the real him, unacknowledged, unclaimed, and now unleashed. We see it all the time. The priest caught in scandal, the politician exposed in corruption, the guru undone by the very temptation he warned others about. The shadow was always there, waiting, but most of us experience it in smaller ways. The artist who never creates, the man who ruins every romance, the woman who plays small over and over again. The shadow ensures that you live half a life, that you never fully wake up, that you never truly live. So the only way out is through. You must ask yourself, what have I abandoned? What am I afraid to want? What have I hidden just to be loved? The answers will hurt, but they will also free you. Because inside the shadow is not just destruction, It's also your power, your raw energy, your full potential. Integrating the shadow doesn't turn you into a monster. It turns you into someone complete, someone unstoppable, someone who has made peace with their humanity. But most people won't do it. They'll keep pretending, keep lying, keep saying, "I'm fine." And the shadow will wait until one day it explodes, shattering the illusion in the worst way possible. And that's why people fear their own psyche. Not because it's evil, but because it's honest. Your shadow knows the truth, and the more you deny it, the more control it takes. You can't lie to yourself forever. Rage, desire, envy, they don't disappear. They transform, they hide, they manipulate, and eventually, they destroy. It's not about indulging your shadow blindly. That leads to chaos. It's about seeing it, understanding it, owning it. That's how you gain mastery. Jung warned us not because the shadow was evil, but because rejecting it turns it into something dark. The man who owns his rage is less likely to erupt. The man who understands his lust is less likely to be consumed by it. The man who accepts his darkness is less likely to become a victim of it. But most people choose ignorance. They wear masks and call it virtue. They avoid their darkness and call it discipline. But their shadow watches. It waits. And it never forgets. Because the more you deny it, the more it tightens its grip. You see it in the man who preaches humility but can't take criticism. In the woman who hates gossip yet thrives on it. In the politician who falls to the same sins he once condemned. These aren't failures. They are fulfillments. The shadow doesn't tolerate lies, it demands truth. And if you won't give it willingly, it will take it through chaos. This is why the shadow terrifies us. Because to face it is to destroy our illusions. And most people would rather be deceived than transformed. But make no mistake, suppressing your shadow is not virtue, it's self-imprisonment. And society rewards this kind of self-denial. It celebrates the mask. It worships appearances. But every illusion shatters. And when it does, it breaks everything in its path. Jung knew this. He saw that those who deny their darkness project it. They make enemies of others just to avoid facing themselves. Their lives become battlegrounds. They fight shadows outside because they refuse to meet the shadow within. But what if you stopped fighting? What if you looked your darkness in the eye and said, "Yes, this too is me"? That's the path Jung offered. Not perfection, not purity, but wholeness. Because only the man who embraces his shadow can ever be truly free.